We are kicking off the month of April with a podcast, of course, episode number 41. I am joined with Phil Vicinanza. Phil, we're back again.
Yes, we are. We never left, but we're back again. So here we
are.
We're
back every week.
Yes.
Well, it's a great Friday night and a great guest we have on the podcast. Like you said in our description, a veteran in the monster truck industry, but also a real veteran. So, Phil, you want to introduce our guest tonight?
Well, of course, we're all about telling the stories of monster trucks on the West Coast. And, when we got started here, this was definitely one of the big names on our list that just fits the mold and checks all the boxes on the criteria. He's been driving for almost 3 decades in monster trucks. And as you mentioned, and it's on the description, he's a veteran of the monster truck industry, and he's also a veteran of the United States Army. We're very honored to have him. He's got some nicknames. A lot of them are on the trucks. A lot of people know him as Ranger Joe. Tonight's guest from the Airborne Ranger monster truck.
Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing tonight?
Good, man. How you guys doing? Nice introduction. I like that.
Thank you. We try to show everybody up, make them feel classy, and kick off the show right.
Or
old. Oh yeah.
Make me feel
yeah.
old. Well, some of them are oldies. That's good. Oldies but good.
Gotta mix everything in there. So we're gonna kick it off a little bit differently tonight, and usually we start off with, how did you get started in motorsports? But you have a lot of background before that, so I got to ask, what events led up to you creating the monster truck team?
Oh, when I get asked why I did monster trucks, one thing is I was always a truck guy. Number 2, I always played with Hot Wheels. And number 3, my favorite toys, I guess, with that said, the other toy was Army Men and Hot Wheels. So, first came the Army and becoming an Airborne Ranger. And then, of course, I got lucky, with Monster Jam asking me to be a part of their Hot Wheel deal back in the day when it first started out. So, the doors were wide open, and you tend to kick the door open when you have to. So I got lucky. We'll call it luck.
Yeah, and certainly luck has been on your side for so many years. Obviously, thank you for your service as an Army Ranger. What made you decide to even join the U.S. Army to begin with?
That's when I'm asked that too, I just I feel whether you're a Navy SEAL, Ranger, pararescue, Marine Recon, I think you have that calling in you to become that person, become that soldier. And that's what I based mine off. I just had a calling that I wanted to do. A lot of the males in my on my dad's side, including my dad, are all Marines. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I had that calling in me, and I knew what I could do, and I knew I could make that happen. So.
Yeah, and it's your calling. Just to kind of give a cliff notes, maybe not everybody that listens has been in the military, have been around some of those dynamics. What was like the day to day being an Army Ranger?
Oh, I think it was a blast. I mean, you learn a lot about yourself when you go through RIP, and it's got a different name now. It's called RASP now, but in RIP, it's 3 weeks of hell. You get an hour. You get released at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you first calls at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you get an hour, but in that hour, you have to shower. You have to rig your stuff for a chopper blast or a bird blast, or for the next day, because you're usually going to be jumping, and you got to practice that, and so it keeps you on your toes. Where you get by the second week, you're having 45 minutes of sleep a day, and you're a walking zombie by the second week. And the third week, man, it's we started with 3 platoons and we wound up with 1 platoon when we graduated. So the attrition rate's 66 to 75%. So 60 to 75%.
So where were some of the areas that you served in? Did you go overseas, or maybe where were some of the places that you served?
No, I didn't serve. I served here at peacetime stateside. Never got a chance to go. It got hurt by the time Noriega was acting up in Grenada, or in Panama really. And second bat got to go down there, my battalion, and actually they all probably participated, but it kind of sucked. I got the rug pulled out from under me, so to speak, and the rug I was on was a golden rug, and where I wanted to be, and that kind of sucked. But with that said, you take a negative and turn it into a positive, and here comes monster trucks, So I took advantage of that real quick, and of course dedicated the Airborne Ranger to Army Rangers, past, present, and future. So.
Exactly. And I love that attitude where an accident can, really just bring a lot of people down. And it really was a second life for you. And so many incredible things. I was reading a lot of the old accolades that you had on your website. Says you were a Gold Cup wheelchair basketball team member, and you went out to Italy. What experience is playing basketball? What's that all about?
Oh, it's fun. Basketball was I was a wheelchair athlete before I found the monster truck, and that's what I thought I was going to do. Is just become a wheelchair athlete and do basketball and a lot of track and swimming. I've done the triathlon and won the triathlon in California, and so but then I found the truck, and I'm like, hey, this is a new challenge for me. I want to see if I can drive this thing with hand controls. So that's what I did. I just did. It was like an evolution after evolution. And like you said, when I first got hurt, August 18th, I was reborn again. 1988. So I was reborn again to carry a different path.
Also saw listed here, you're a certified scuba rescue diver. That's incredible. Talk about that too.
I went through the PADI system, and I would crawl in the water. My daughter Layla would watch me disappear into the water, and I'd come back out of the water, with my instructor. And I was going to go to scuba school as a ranger too, and I wanted to learn all that cool stuff. But I thought, well, I'm hurt, but at least I can still crawl in the water, and I adapted to it very quickly, and went up through the ranks of PADI, the old PADI system, and became a rescue diver as a paraplegic. And accepted as a rescue diver as a paraplegic. And then they wanted me to get my dive master, but I was just like, I'll sit here for a while and see what we can do with it. And then, of course, got bored with that and moved on,
And you always keep evolving. Make sure anybody who's listening right now live, make sure you share this video all across Facebook. Make sure everybody on your friends list knows that we're sitting here with the one and only Ranger Joe Cypher. So make sure you share this video. Make sure you like this video as well. As we now we're going to dive into a lot of the monster truck talk. Vincent, go ahead. I know you got a great question to kick us off.
Let's dive into, of course, the Airborne Ranger truck. So how did you acquire the chassis? Did you build it or did you buy it?
The chassis was the original Bounty Hunter, and it came out of Dixon, Illinois. And I bought it. I bought the whole system, the hauler, the trailer to haul it on, the hauling tires, the big tires, the truck, spare parts, $50,000. And that's, you can't get 10% of your team for $50,000 anymore. It seems like, you know what I'm saying? But, there again, fell right into the right door. Guy was looking to get out of it, and we went and got it and brought it home, and eventually we had to change things of it, and bring the truck through a new evolution. You know what I mean? Through new chassis, moving the motor to the back, new shocks, new four links. All that stuff comes into play. Besides adding hand controls to it, and then being tested by MTRA to get my Class A license was the next challenge, the biggest challenge. So that truck had to be ready for me to be in it. So.
I think that's what a lot of people recognize Airborne Ranger for, being the first hand-controlled monster truck. Now, based on, from your accent, your mobility isn't compromisable where you need to. That's why you need to have hand controls. Mm-hmm. Where do you even start doing something that nobody's ever done before?
Well, I lucked out. What helped me is I could wear lower leg braces, or AFOs, they call them, better braces. They're lower leg braces from the knee down, and that helped me get up and walk around the truck, and it helps me walk every day. But now, getting older, so now I'm starting to use 50% of the braces and 50% of the chair. But that you just start by, I think the VA helped me a lot when they put hand controls in my personal vehicles, and I learned from that, and in fact, I excelled at that at Palo Alto, California. We went up these mountains, and the guy goes, it takes 4 weeks for the guy to do this. Yeah, he said, I think you're going to do it in 2. But the thing is I looked at that as independence. You look at your first wheelchair as independent, makes you more independent. And here comes a car equipped with a hand control, that they help you with. And man, you're independent. And that's what I was looking for. That was the start of getting me, letting the horse out of the gate, so to speak, to run around the track. Well, you got to have hand controls. You got to be able to sit on the horse, and guide the horse. So that was the basis of taking it from there and moving forward. Just like I said, it seems like it was always an evolution for me.
A constant evolution, especially in a part of the sport like the 90s, where the trucks were really rapidly changing to really become big race vehicles and to get to that next evolution for freestyle. Did you keep any of that in mind when you were rebuilding the Airborne Ranger there, knowing that you're going to be racing and going up against a lot of tough competition?
Oh yeah, you keep that in the back of your mind. And I learned early on what my truck could do and couldn't do. There was things that, I remember we were in Tacoma, Washington. Bigfoot was up there, and he took first, or I took first or second, whatever it was. And I actually pointed out the window to the promoter, hey, can I freestyle? Can I hit this big jump? And he goes, looks at it, and he shakes his head, go ahead. So I hit it, but I learned that when I came down, I snapped a tire off, and a broken axle, planetary. So you learn that stuff. So, and it teaches you about yourself, but it also teaches you about your equipment, and what you got to do. And well, we got to change the shocks, or, we got to lighten this up. It had a reverse 4-link on it when I first got it, which means the 4 links went from the front of the chassis to the front of the axle. And it was nice because it folded up. In the back then, it was a little bit more straight line drags, to where, like you're saying, here comes freestyle. Here comes this evolution of another discipline that I wanted to do. It looked fun. Donuts. I remember doing my first donut. I was like shaking that I was going to turn the truck over, and I didn't want to turn the truck over. Back then, if you turned the truck over, you were a dum-dum, So I didn't want to be a dum-dum right away, but you learn what to do and how to change it. And I always wanted to lighten them up. I always lighten them. I put holes in it. Craig Christensen says I'm the holy guy, or my trucks are holy because they got holes in them, and I'm always putting holes in stuff, to lighten it up. But I do it at you have to maintain that because you can't let it get out of hand where it's not safe. So.
Yeah, and then that's such a valid point too. And I like how you're mentioning to get everything up to spec, with the MTRA, make sure you're all certified with all the various levels, and eventually, with USHRA, Monster Jam.
Right.
What's the biggest difference, other than the hand controls, between that original Airborne Ranger and some of the other top trucks from back in that time frame?
Well, back in that time frame, a lot of people like any Monster Jam trucks, Greg Digger, will and Tom Meets. Tom's trucks were very, very light, and they, to this day, his truck is very light, no matter what anybody says. It's light. And that's the path I wanted to go down, was to take the light path. Because if you can, throw a feather in the air and it comes down, it's not going to hurt itself. You throw a ball in the air and it comes down, it's going to bounce around, And so there's that theory there, But yeah, you just learn from that. You learn from them guys. You learn from Bigfoot. They were already ahead of the game. They were ahead of the game because they were out there trashing and bashing and the mean I forget what they call Dennis's nickname of his truck, but I mean he went out there and he tore it up every night, and that put him on top. He helped the sport. Of course, Bigfoot's helped the sport with the evolution of all their technology too. So
did your competitors have any thoughts on you using hand controls?
I think they were a little, they questioned what I was going to do, and they questioned me, and they might have had questions to MTRA, but I proved myself. I mean, they put me through the ringer. I thought they put me through the ringer, compared to a lot of other people that are able-bodied, other drivers. So I just moved on. I didn't care what they said. I didn't want to listen to it. I wanted to prove to them that I could, and I was pretty you could say demanding when I called them and talked to them about it, and I think they knew that I wasn't going to just be out there, causing problems. I was going to get out there and do it right.
That's a great valid point too. And, looking at a lot of the competitors, who were some of the early people that gave you any advice or helped you out right when you were getting started?
Bob Chandler, he was always my hero. He's if I wanted to model myself and my team, if I could, after anybody in this sport, it would be them. If I wanted to model myself out like a freestyler, one of the freestylers, it would be Dennis Anderson. And between those two, I looked up to those two. I looked up to Tom. Tom would come and ask me, "What are you going to hit? How are you going to hit this?" Because in the early days, if you look at some of those videos, I was crossing things up before Tom was too, but he would come and go, "What are you going to do?" And I was just like, "I'm not going to tell you. You'll see. And then he kind of like he grinned about it. He loved it, because he just knew that I was going to do something that he had to talk. But you know what? That made the show much better, and it moved the sport forward. And I mean, nowadays, look what they're doing nowadays. Holy smokes. Some of them guys got it down that they can stand on one wheel, it seems like, and do stuff. And that's just awesome,
Yeah, the evolution just gets scarier and scarier. You never know where we're going next. But I know when you got started, such a special moment. Do you remember where that first event was, the first time you brought Airborne Ranger out into the public eye? What was going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, it was at the university here, University of Nevada, Reno. That was the first time I brought it out. It still had the old chassis, old reverse 4-link under it, and then but the thing is it was a basketball court, at that university, and it was, you hit the throttle, and then pretty much in mid-flight you're starting to hit the brakes because otherwise you're going to hit the wall on the other side, and this is indoors. So I'll always remember that. But I'm glad it was in my hometown. I'm glad it was here.
Yeah, that's always so special doing events so close, as hometown especially. Those early events, do the events just get bigger and bigger, as almost as quick, or was there a lot of pressure on you right from the get go to perform?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of pressure. I carried around I carried around one of the the best names in the Army, in my opinion, and I had to live up to that. And that put pressure on me personally, but I accepted that pressure. But I don't think my truck could accept it. You know what I mean? And we learned a lot about it. I mean, we learned a lot about what to change, what to do, beef this up, lighten this up. Like I said, another whole evolution with that. But as far as the pressure from promoters, I don't know if they really pressured me so much. But I always wanted to do good at the show. I learned from watching everybody else. I learned what they do. I watched what they work on, what they broke. They may not have seen me, but I was over there checking it out. And you just learn from your mistakes too. Besides everybody else's. When you go in the Army, they make an example of one person, and they do that for a reason, so that everybody else learns what that one person did wrong. And you learn really fast what to do and what not to do. So I applied that to monster trucks and just learned and learned and watched and learned, and that's how I evolved. Not that I evolved into superhero status, but I mean, I evolved and held my own. So, and I think I was good with that. I think I upheld the name. You know,
Got a comment here from Derek P. Dupre. He says, Ranger Joe, been watching you for years. Always loved your truck. Keep on keeping on from one veteran to another.
cool. Thanks, Derek, man. Appreciate it.
I also see comment here. I don't want to butcher the name, but we can pull it up here. It says Ranger Joe is the best monster truck grandpa ever. There you go.
Yep, that's my son-in-law and my daughter Layla. They call her Lala because she's in La La Land all the time.
Oh
And,
my.
yeah, my grandson and my granddaughter too, Davina, and BJ, my grandson. So yeah, they try to go to the shows as much as they can with me, and and be there. I love it when they're there. So
Yeah, that was going to be a good follow up there. It's so important, having family behind you. But a lot of times, you're out running around, you don't get to see them so often, and you really build a family on the road. So who were some of the people that made up that Airborne Ranger team that helped you out along the way?
I had a lot of people around me. The couple that I remember, they had to drive that old hauler. That hauler that I bought was a 10-speed, is a 10-speed stick shift. So, I didn't have I don't have the footwork for that. So I had to hire guys, that had CDLs and could drive and do stuff. And then through the evolution, I got a FL70 Freightliner motorhome that was a Renegade conversion, but it had an Ellison automatic in it, so that way I could drive it. Plus, it's licensed as a motorhome, and that is my home. That's where I stay when I get on the road and stay on the road. So and then a lot of the guys I knew, I had two Rangers with me, Kevin DeGiulio and Ross Smith, and that they helped out a lot. There was three of us. There was three Rangers then, and that was awesome. That made I think that put the name on the map a lot. And that was in that evolution of time where becoming a Hot Wheel and moving on and advancing the truck and building a ride truck too. Ross was building an Airborne Ranger ride truck because he was a Ranger. So that those are the outstanding people. And right now, one of the most outstanding people I have is a father-son team, and that's Derek Ritter and Anthony Ritter. And the Ritter family. They help me a lot. And so that's this next evolution of you got to go through souls too. And I think Derek and I met for a reason. His son and I met for a reason. So that's where we're at, and those are the people that really have helped along the way.
I love that. I love you mentioned Derek Ritter. That's somebody that we've ran into at the events over the years, and he's still kicking it. So I'm sure we'll weasel him on here at some point down the line. And maybe he's listening. But you mentioned the other. Go ahead.
He's got 2 chassis sitting right here in the shop. So. Yeah. Tell him to kick him in the butt verbally for me. That way he'll get his shit done.
Well, we'll twist his ear. We're good at that. But there he is. He says, "Who?"
Come on, Derek.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, hey, we'll get to Derek one of these days. But now we still got Ranger Joe here. So if anybody's got any more questions or anything with Ranger Joe, we're still continuing on. Leading on to the next question here. You were mentioning the other Rangers that were with the team, and I know at one point you had a super truck, a part of the Airborne Ranger team. What was that all about, and how did that all come about?
That came about when I started out. Monster trucks were really busy during the say the autumn through springtime. Come springtime to summertime, it panned off, at least where I live here, Nevada. So I decided to bring out super trucks. Were getting popular, with NASCAR, and I believe that's what they called them when they first started out. Now I think they rename them after a sponsor series, But so we followed along that path, and we created a dirt track truck, super truck, and we built it all by hand. I had to go on the road, so I left Ross in charge, and Mike McDougall, as a paraplegic friend of mine that I played wheelchair basketball. Mike would go there. He went over there for 3 weeks straight. There he is right there. Yep. And he would go over there 3 weeks straight at my shop, and he worked on that truck. So finally we said, the 3 of us Rangers turned and looked at each other, and I said, hey, what about putting Mike in this truck? I said, because I need you 2 on the road with me. And they're like, who? And who means yes, who means no, who means Ranger, who can mean, it's a word that can mean a lot of stuff. It's in that instant of how you use it as a Ranger. But anyway, so we agreed upon it, and so we put Mike in that truck, and he took Rookie of the Year the first year out in that truck, and he missed taking first place by a couple points. And had he known about a mail-in system of getting extra points if you mail your entry fee in a little bit earlier, he probably would have took first place. But anyway, nonetheless, he did a great job in that truck.
And as your team expands, I know you start changing the looks of the truck. That original scheme, we'll show pictures in a bit. You always had names for all your different looks. That first look was Alpha, then it moved to Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
How are you coming up with the names?
The phonetic alphabet of the Army, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and A, B, C, D. That's all that really is. And I didn't want to use, number 1, number 2, number 3. Everybody was using that. Or, I just thought, well, this is a military truck, and it's got one of the best military names on it. So we're going to call this one Alpha. We're going to call this one, the next one Bravo, the next one Charlie, Delta. Plus, there's a lot of, like Charlie's Rangers was one of the hardcore Rangers during Vietnam that were very hardcore guys. They would go in and they would take care of business at all costs. Let's just say, and so those abbreviations reminded me of those guys too. And it I kept with that theme of dedication to the Rangers. Through that, and maybe just a little bitty old name, but at least in my heart, that's where I wanted to go. I didn't want to use the numbers. I wanted to use a phonetic alphabet.
And I love that, and I'm happy that you explained all that, because I don't think maybe a lot of people realize.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that I always want to be different. There's things I hide. I hide stuff in my artwork. The camouflage truck. I'm looking at one of the Hot Wheels right now. It has the scroll, the flash from the beret, the Ranger dagger, and there's 4 objects, and I forget. Oh, the airborne wings. So they're all in that camo, as silhouettes, but that's what makes up that camo. So if anybody has that old Airborne Ranger Hot Wheel, the camo one with the nostalgia front end on it, look at the camo pretty close and you'll see those silhouettes, those 4 silhouettes in there that make up that camo.
I love that too. And that's another good asking point. You know, when you're coming up with the designs of the Airborne Ranger, and you've had a lot of great ones over the years, are you designing these? You have a lot of input in them. You know, who's putting it all on paper and then getting it on the truck?
I think a lot of it, we went to the red, white, and blue as Rangers, as the 3 Rangers, me, Ross, and Kevin. And Mikey's truck, the super truck was black and gold, obviously the Army colors. We were going to start trying to recruit the Army, as a sponsor too. So there was different thoughts on different deals. But I guess I was the brainchild of most of it. I mean, I remember when, the 9/11 hit, and man, everybody went to red, white, and blue, which was great. It was great, and it's great for the country. But we had it first, and at least I can claim that, and then there was another couple other trucks up there that went red, white, and blue before that time too. But that was always in our hearts, our hearts and soul to have that red, white, and blue on there. And with that said, now the times have changed. People have changed. Society's changed. And there's sometimes when I pull back and I draw back from all that, like I said, I just want to sit back and watch what happens, and, go pick somebody up and dust them off and say, all right, let's try this way. Let's try to do this now, instead. And that's what changed to the Marauder. The Marauder was brought out in Vegas by one of my good friends too. He helped me a lot, Dave Klingman, and he sponsored me, and he gave me a shop down there, and that's where that truck was born. I stayed down there for 2 years building that truck, and the Marauder was born. And it actually had a name. You'll see some of the names out there in some of the pictures. It says "Death from Above," which was an old airborne motto between 82nd Airborne and 101st Airborne. They fight over it, and I don't. You can only Google it and see who claims that motto, But it was that death name. It was kind of a little, like I said, there was that changing what's going on. So, being Airborne Ranger, I was trying to help out an airborne motto. So then I thought, okay, you don't want that, and it wasn't that the airborne community didn't want it. It was promoters, we'll say, and there's probably some slack from certain fans, that don't like it, and I understand. I understand it's a kid's show, and it's a family show, and so we went with Marauder. I thought, all right, I'm going to go right back to my roots of being a Ranger. And what was a Ranger? Well, I always wanted to have a truck called Marauder. Well, I guess now's the time, and that was named for Merrill's Marauders, one of the World War II units, Ranger units that went pretty much marched and fought, and a lot of them died just from gangrene, a lot of sicknesses in the jungle sicknesses. So that was dedicated in my 25th year. That's why the name is still silver on the side. It says Marauder, but on the back it still says Airborne Ranger. And that was that dedication. So with that said, the times kind of changed my heart, and the experiences that I've gone through change, and I guess I project that on my trucks too, but there was things that had to be done, and we did them, and we just made it simple. And I love the truck. It's flat black, and I can go to an auto parts store and find flat black and fix it real quick, and it just it helps me a lot. But I love this truck. This chassis was built by Craig Christensen, has Pablo Huffaker's shocks on it, Dan Patrick's housings, and it rocks and rolls. When I put it together, pretty well. It goes up in the air and lands pretty smooth, and it takes care of me. And that way I can do my job in there, and be safe. So we call her Black Betty. One of the songs that she goes out to is Black Betty. So rock and roll song. I'm probably dating myself there, but yeah. But yeah, I love this truck.
Being that your truck represents the military, have you ever had the opportunity to do any cool truck displays, maybe at a military base or such?
Yeah, we go out. It seems like almost every year, one of the military bases that still does stuff is Hawthorne. Hawthorne's like a depot for different things. I probably don't want to mention what they're for right now, but it's a depot where a lot of different things take place. A retirement of the different items. But they celebrate armed forces in May. May is usually Armed Forces Month or Armed Forces Week, Armed Forces Weekend, and they're like one of the only bases left that actually celebrate that. So we like to go there a lot. We're going to go there this year, and we try to do the parades. We'll wide load the truck through the parade because it's pretty much the safest way to get it through. The motor likes to get hot. Actually, the old motor likes to get hot. This new motor is pretty cool. It stays pretty cool, but that's probably the length of where I've gone with that. I went up to battalion when the three of us Rangers were together. We took it up to battalion and displayed it right at battalion at the quad, they call it, right on the middle of the three companies: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta company, or it would actually be headquarters company. And they liked it a lot. A lot of feedback from Rangers up there, and that was up in Tacoma.
Well, good old Derek's back in the comments, and he says, "How old are you?" So, do you have any? We'll give you the opportunity to fire back. Do you have any good Derek Ritter stories?
Oh yeah, ask him about falling off my trailer.
Oh,
Underneath, looking straight up at it. That was so
Yikes.
funny. And the problem is, I missed the whole thing because Anthony, his son, is bringing the truck into the shop. So my zoomies face up, right, and I'm looking at all this dust coming off of the ceiling. I'm like, well, at least we're cleaning the ceiling off, as the truck's going into the shop. And so I'm watching Anthony, and I got the kill box on, the RI, and on him. So I'm not making sure, he doesn't run through the back wall or anything, which he won't. It's just, being safe. And next thing you know, I look over, and Derek's outside the door there, dusting himself off underneath the trailer, and I'm like, what the hell happened to you? I fell off the trailer. he slipped on some oil and did like a somersault, and he wound up underneath the trailer, looking straight up underneath the trailer. And I'm like, oh my god, it's just. I have a lot of stories about Derek, but that's
he
probably
says
the
fake.
best one.
Yeah,
He
Derek
says fake
fake
news.
Yeah, he wishes.
Oh man, but I can tell you what isn't fake news is our podcast here tonight. So again, if you guys are enjoying what we're doing here tonight with Ranger Joe Cypher, make sure you like this video and you share it all across social media. Still have a lot more stories. We want to catch up with Joe as we continue on his timeline. So make sure you like and share this video. Another one of your longtime competitors has popped in. He's driven all sorts of different trucks. BJ Johnson. He says,
Yeah.
"Love you, buddy. Lots of
Yeah.
good times together."
Yeah, BJ and I had a lot of good times too. BJ and Craig too. Craig Christensen at the same time, and then BJ would come by the shop whenever he could, and I think I think he was driving Monster Patrol or Barefoot at that time, and but he would come by and have a lot of fun. In fact, my grandson is named BJ, and I just love that name. As soon as my daughter chose that name, and my son-in-law chose that name, I was like, yeah, that's a cool name. And we've got a Gas Monkey 1/24 scale Gas Monkey Hot Wheel up here, signed by BJ to BJ. So that's I'll never let BJ have it. My BJ have it until he turns 18 or 20 or something like that. That way he doesn't open a box or destroy it.
Yeah, and Mike Minner says, I watched Derek fix a corner in like 6 minutes. I don't
Yeah.
count.
Yeah, Derek and Anthony, his son, they are badass. They know what they're doing. Derek's my crew chief, and Anthony's my crew chief. And I don't know, I guess I gotta name them, Alpha Chief and Bravo Chief. But I think Anthony should be Alpha Chief. Derek should be number 2, Bravo Chief. So ask him about that. Ask him about starting a truck.
Oh man,
Yeah.
or rag on him too hard.
Yeah. Klamath Falls. Ask him about that one. And then his son gets in there and just fires it right up. I'm like, what's wrong with you? So.
No questions asked. But hey, we we have Mike Manner in the comments. He's in a lot of our comments for every episodes, and of course, he's one of the many dads behind the mini monsters, and his being the warhead. We always ask everybody, what are your thoughts on the mini monsters? But just maybe a little twist. Do you ever think there could be a hand-controlled mini monster out there one day?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a if there was a chance that a kid needed to do that or really wanted to do that in his heart, I'd be the first one there if they let me know to help him out. And I have a foundation. Doesn't do that well right now, but it would help him. With what it could. BJ, my grandson, has a touch of autism, and it's called Asperger's. And he's my little Rain Man. He is. That kid was 4 years old carrying a phone around in his hand and knew what to do with it when he was 4 years old. He was downloading apps and different games and stuff. So he's very. I call him my little brainiac too. He's very. And if anybody I'd like to see getting one of those mini monsters, we've got him an off-road go-kart. Between the family helped out with this go-kart, and it was supposed to be here at Christmas, but it finally got here in January, and we put it together for him. So he drives that, and I don't think he knows it, but I'm trying to groom him for that, to step up into those mini monsters. He hasn't been at a show where they've been at the show with me yet, but one of these days I'm sure he is, and I'm gonna even Mike, if Mike's at the show, I'm asking him to show BJ that truck, and see what BJ thinks, and I'm not going to push it on him. I don't want to push anything on anybody, but I want, if he wants that chance, I give BJ that chance. And then, like I said, if there's a kid out there that has locomotion problems like I have, just let me know. I'll try to help him out too, especially in those. I love those little trucks. Oh my God. And that's the thing. I love driving monster trucks. I love doing the things I do for people, and making them stand up and just clap and shout. But I also like to watch monster trucks. I'm big time on that too. I mean, I'll be the first one out of my truck and running to the fence to watch the guy after me freestyle. And I just love watching it. Unless we have some type of broken deal, I'm at the fence. Can't pull my helmet off fast enough. And I love watching those little trucks in the same respect. Oh my God, those little kids get in there, and oh my God, they just put on a show, and that I hope in the future, COVID kind of screwed a lot of that stuff up, but I hope in the future that grows, that the mini monster stuff grows, because we were talking about mega monsters, the mega trucks and stuff, but now, like I said, my thought process has changed a little bit. Another evolution, okay, that door's closed, so let's open this door and let's help out some kids, or at least my grandson, to get into something like that. Let him see those little mini monsters and get him in one and see if he wants to drive it, But like I said, it's all evolution for him too. I'm not gonna push it on him. He's 8 years old now, so gotta pace him a little bit,
Yeah, definitely no rush. That's for sure. And there's so many avenues to go down.
Right.
I saw another follow up from Derek Ritter. He says, because I'm too big now. Maybe he's too big to get in the truck, but I know very, very few times you've had people other than yourself drive Airborne Ranger. I know one of them was David Klingman. What's it been like for other people to get in the truck and actually drive it? It's got to be a lot different than some other trucks.
Yeah, it's I get up there and tell them to show, and I remember the first day I had to drive it. I drove it outside. I drove it outside my first shop to put the big tires on it to take a promotional picture, of it. And man, it's scary, But like I said, luckily the training I had behind me was from the VA system. The guy had a old Impala car, and he had a brake on the passenger side, a brake pedal that he could stomp on if whoever was driving, he got out of control. He could stomp on the pedal and stop the car at least. And I'm like looking at that and going, I said, is that for you? You know, and I'm teasing the guy. You know, of course I'm giving him shit like I do everybody. You know, and I told him, I said, you won't need that for me. You know, but yeah, it's got to be a challenge. I remember when Craig Christensen, I was late to getting back to a show for some reason, and they had to move the trucks from outside the arena into the arena because they were all on display. So he got in my truck. He said, "Oh, I'll move it." So he literally had his knee up to his chest because at that time the pedals were up on a pedestal so that the hand control rods were shorter that were going to him. And now in this truck, they're made as a normal vehicle with hand controls in it. That way I can pull my hand controls out of the way and I can put an able-bodied person in that truck because everything's adjustable. But anyway, yeah, he had his foot up to his chest and would not take his foot off that brake pedal. So
Yeah, Derek said, do you tell them where the fuel shutoff is?
yeah, I tell everybody, and you know, Derek knows there's a fuel shutoff and a fuel on, so it's and that's what's funny, you know, it's Anthony got up there and figured it all out. You know? And my little buddy could not figure it out. Oh my God, I'll have to tell you the story sometime. It's quite the story.
Well, I know a lot of stories, a lot of memories are made running events for Monster Jam. Of course, that's, you know, the largest promoter of monster trucks around, and your truck was such a big player, and really still is in a lot of retrospects, especially now as a lot of fans go back and watch a lot of the old episodes from TNN and back in the day Speed Channel. Do you remember the first time you were approached by Monster Jam to compete at one of their events?
I don't recall the first one, but I do recall the years, you know, getting bigger and bigger for me. There was a year that we were busy, you know, January 1st for 16 weeks, 16 weekends, and they weren't all Monster Jam shows, but probably, you know, 2/3 of them were. And man, we got home after those 16 weeks, and we threw the truck in the shop, and we went to sleep we ate and slept for a week, you know, and that was it. Then the second week we were like, all right, we got to get back on it because we got another show coming up, you know. So, but yeah, they kept me busy. They you know, I remember in Tacoma Dome, I forget the gentleman's name that came in from Monster Jam and asked me to become a Hot Wheel, and I'm like, okay, you know. And like I said, I reverted right at that moment back to being a Hot Wheel kid, you know, and having Hot Wheels when I was a kid, and you know, I'm like, yeah, that's, you know, that's one of my dreams. So that, you know, and that was a dream that transpired, you know, became real. So I'll always remember that about them, you know.
And make sure to keep those questions coming as we keep moving along here on the podcast. We got a great comment here from Christopher Allen. He says, "Hi, Ranger Joe. It's no secret the World Finals has grown into a must-see event. That being said, how does it feel to been a part of history being at the World Finals in 2000?"
Yeah, that was fun. You know, that was a lot of fun. That was it was fun, but it was also a heartbreak to me too. You know, I lost a front drive line, and the truck started walking around itself and the rear end tried to come around the front end, and finally I lost control of it, and I smashed into the wall, and I was racing Deborah Medusa. I was racing Deborah in her Medusa truck, and man, had I not done that, she spun out in one corner, and here I'm hitting the wall. So it was just it was one of those deals that was a negative, but yet a positive, you know. So it turned me around. And I looked at my truck a little differently. Then I'm like, all right, my hunk of junk needs to change a little bit here, you know. So
Yeah, you know, it's interesting looking back at that first World Finals, especially now. There's so many new fans that come into Monster Jam and such new generations. And I think a lot of the go-tos is to go back and rewatch all the World Finals. And now you look back, that was over 20 years ago now, that first World Finals. And just to see how much the sport changed, I think that's your perfect example. You can watch World Finals 1, and then you go back to watch the latest World Finals that was in Orlando. What does that look like for you? Having been there at that first one and then seeing where that event has just grown.
Yeah, yeah. Like Derek Ritter, he has seen every Monster Jam in Vegas there was. So he's got that under his belt, and I wish I could say that, but there's some that I had to miss, and then I hated missing them because of I call it magic. I call it monster truck magic. The stuff that goes on in those shows, and that went on in that stadium in Vegas, Sam Boyd Stadium it was magic, and it made people stand up in the seats. And to miss that, was it sucked, and granted, now I think it sucks because they moved it to Florida, but that's their home, that's their home, and that's the wise choice. That would be the wiser choice to do that way. But yeah, I miss it. I miss watching it, because, like I said, the evolution of the and I call them kids, and there's still a couple in there, like Tom and Avenger, and I forget who else is still in there, but those guys are still hanging in there. But man, some of those tricks they can do. I sometimes I lay awake and thinking, I can't sleep at night sometimes, and so I start thinking about the truck and thinking about things. And one of the things I think about is like, well, how can I adapt my hand controls so I can start doing that stuff? Because my hands are busy enough as it is, let alone trying to shift the thing into reverse or to first and hit the brake and get off the brake and maybe tap the rear steering if you're on the rears, or what, what would I have to do, and I've got one trick on my sleeve that I'm going to do, but I need to put a wheelie bar on it to do it. And, but that's probably the only one I could get away with right now, with the limitation of the hand controls I have. I've seen some out there that the total hand control is in your two hands, in both hands, where everything's there, shifting, steering, rear steering, and I shouldn't say rear steering because of this the kid that drives this car is a more of a track car, asphalt track car, and but anyway, he drives very well, and he's a quad, and he literally takes one hand and ties it to the hand control with a Velcro strap, and he does very well. He does very well in that sport. But those are the things I think about, because it just amazes me. Like I said, I love watching them as much as I love driving them. So when Monster Jam's on now, if I'm crossing through the channels and I see it, oh my God, everything stops in my house. Like, oh, turn that up.
You never stop being a fan, and I always love the science in a lot of the tricks with the trucks. And as that's always a big part of where the sport is now, the evolution of what these trucks can do. I have to be a fantasy man right now. Have you ever thought about backflipping Airborne Ranger?
Yeah, we did. We when it was built in Vegas, they mandated that it had that extra bar in it, extra hoop bar going around your seat. So I took it upon myself to put another bar in there, and I stagger attached the bars. I staggered them, so all three bars were staggered all the way up and around and over the other side. So it has a triple cage in it. Doesn't mean it's going to withstand that. I think is to take a truck upside down. I don't know if you can see this guy, but take a truck upside down and land on that. Now all the weight is up here, is on top of you, so to speak, and that if you're going to test that cage, man, that your cage better be squared away. There's dumpster bars, they call them. The nickname for them is that I still have to put in mine, and I want to put them in mine. The problem is are they going to hamper me getting out of the truck if the truck's on fire? Are they going to hamper me getting in the truck? Period. But mainly that safety issue. What if the truck's on fire and I'm upside down? Because everybody thinks, oh yeah, you'll be all right. You can do this, and when you're upside down, no. I've been upside down a lot, and everything comes to a halt because you have to orient where you're at. And I've been upside down so much that I can reach out and grab the dirt and throw it at the guys when they're, you're all right, yeah, get away from me. I'm throwing rocks at them and stuff, but that comes with time, and I hate to say it, but that's practice. I don't want to turn the truck over to practice, but yeah, it's another deal that you contend with about backflipping. It's it can create a lot of destruction. I've seen a lot of them come out of it, but I've seen probably a lot more just destroy themselves, But I want to do it. I do want to do it. So
Definitely would be a sight to see. And we got a comment here from Gary Shot. He says, Joe is always fun to run with. Just don't try to arm wrestle him or he'll probably lose.
I don't know. Gary's got some big arms now. He's a little pit bull. I usually win, but I don't think I can win Gary anymore. I'm 57 years old. There's the answer to Derek's question. But yeah, I'm 57 years old, and he's still in that young age where I think he'll slam me through the table.
We'll have to do a match, a match point here or something, rubber match. We'll figure it out.
Cool. That'd be way cool.
I got a couple more questions have come in. Here's one from Brent Shetler. He says, "Do you still have the cane made out of chain that you had at Evergreen Speedway when I met you in the pits?"
Oh yeah, I use it. I use it constantly. It's in the back of my truck in the back seat on the floor. It's so heavy and made out of chain, and I have to keep it on the floor, otherwise it'll tear up the the fabric of the upholstery. But yeah, I still have it and I still use it. And it's I like it because it actually keeps my wrist in shape. It makes that thing's heavy. It's made out of a real chain, and it exercises your wrist for your forearms, so to speak.
Gary Schott just bounced back in. He says he's 60 years old, so he's just a little under than him, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, you be careful what you wish for, Gary.
Oh, man.
Well, got another question in here from Christopher Allen. He says, who approached you about putting Airborne Ranger in the Monster 4x4 Masters of Metal video game? I know you're also in Monster Jam Maximum Destruction. So how'd you get your truck in video games?
I think Monster Jam had a lot to do with the first game that I'm in. Now the 4x4 Masters of Metal, I'm reading it on the deal here. I don't know about that one. I haven't seen that one, and yeah, I hope it's not there without my permission, so to speak. But anyway, the first one was definitely Monster Jam. They talked about being in a game and stuff like that. This other one I don't know about, but I think I've heard of that game, but I didn't know anything about that.
We have another comment here from Chris Walquist. He says, "How have you enjoyed running on the Monster Truck Insanity Tour?"
Chris Walquist?
Yes.
Insanity Tour is cool. Awesome. I love running them all. I try to run them all, but then, man, there's times when you just can't run them all. I've slowed down. I try to do 20 to 25 shows a year. I know Craig, what is there, 58 weeks in a year, something like that, 52 weeks in a year. I think Craig was, man, he was, for a while there, he was running 48 weekends out of the year, and that's just crazy. Even he slowed down, he slowed down a little bit too. So you try to pace yourself now. I try to work out every day. I can probably work out for 2 days and then I have to take a break, but you learn what and how hard and what exercises to do and what not to do anymore. And, but I do it so the truck doesn't bust me up so much. You know what I mean? I mean, you've got some awesome seats nowadays, awesome safety belts, awesome safety gear, helmets, the Hans. I wear a Hans, your headgear on the seat, your shoulder gear. But I don't care what anybody says. It's gonna, unless you're young like those kids in Monster Jam, the ones that are over, let's say 40, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it.
Another question came in from Mike Menner. He says, "Do you do your own motor work?"
No, I don't do my motor work. I have my buddy Greg Jones. We started out as a monster truck drag boat team, and he handles the motor port, and then there's a machinist that we use, and his name is Mike, and I call him Mad Mike. Mad Mike's Machining. That's not really. I blew up my motor after 23 years. I finally blew that one up. So, and with that said, I had good guidance with Greg Jones. He's a drag boat guy. His dad was Sonny Jones. I don't know if anybody knows of Sonny, but Sonny held a lot of licenses as far as the drag boat, the different disciplines of drag boats and different categories that they have. And Greg still races to this day. He races his drag boat too. His drag boat is called Back in Black. So.
Got a question from one of our former guests. He's known as the Chair Destroyer. If you watched the episode, you would know. He says, "Hey Joe, a formal apology for destroying the cars in Rapid City, South Dakota a few years back. Left you with just a flat track to pop a tire on. Sorry."
Yeah. That happens. There's just had those Chinese tires, and I've got some now. They're, instead of being a 6-ply, they're brand new 10-plies, and a lot of that. You wanted the lightweight tires, lightweight rims, which I have, but sometimes they bounce up and bite you because the little bittiest car part goes through it and punctures a hole in it, and it can happen with a regular tire, or a 10-ply or Goodyear or 10-ply Firestone. It's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes you see those car parts sticking out and you want to drive around them instead of, or fly over them, and all right, I'm going to get over this set because it looks like if I come down on that, it's going to pop all 4 tires, so.
Gotta love David Tucker. We love him. We
Yeah.
want to see him when he explodes a chair. That's what we'll say if anybody hasn't seen his
Talking
episode.
about popping tires, he popped one in his chair.
He popped the chair on his episode, but
Oh, yeah?
nonetheless,
how does one pop a chair?
Well, he said he had a flat tire and his chair went sideways. So if you want to see
really?
that, go rewatch that episode.
Okay. You have that episode on?
Yeah, it's in our video archives. I'll send you the link to that too if you want to jump on that. But hey, another question just came in from my buddy Brian Anger. He says, "Which paint scheme was your favorite?"
The red, white, and blue. The red, white, and blue Charlie. We called it Charlie, the Charlie chassis, and then it went from we called it Charlie Camo because it was the same chassis but with a different body, that nostalgia front end, that camo. So between those two, those are my favorite colors, and of course, I'm always wearing black. I always wear black, and that truck being black with American flag on it coming out of it is just it's what I've always wanted. What I always wanted to do, and and I've chalked that up to been there, got a T-shirt for it, type thing. So I like that, and then running close second is the camo one that I hid those silhouettes in.
So I know with the Charlie Camo body, you had a different front clip on that truck. I mean, it was just a lot of different going on. What was the thought process of changing that truck over with not only with the design but with the body?
Where that body came about was I had these. They were called these James Hot Rod front ends, and they were built by Jim Lund of Lund Industries. The accessory company Lund, and for trucks. And so we had them sponsored to us, and we had 3 different prototypes. One was sorry, I'm doing a little decompression here, but one was a heavy prototype, one was a light prototype, and one was the actual prototype. We'll say the middle one was the prototype. So I decided, these are just sitting here. I need to, get these on here and get these out there. And so I started. I had the body that the year that those actually would adapt to, and so we adapted them over to that body, and it wound up working really well, And like I said, then we decided that I keep looking at the toy, so I'm going to change it, and I'm going to make it camo, And I just thought that it would. It was around those times where everybody, like I said, was on the bandwagon of red, white, and blue. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to change. I'm going to change something up there. I'm going to throw a wrench in everybody's gears, and especially mine, and get something done here different. So we came out with that camo style truck, and that has to run a close second.
And I know you took the camo all sorts of places, and I know one of the big ones was, the last event, the Pontiac Silverdome.
Yeah.
It was like such a historic building for monster truck fans. Also, like being in such hollow grounds and being one of the last ones there.
That's exactly it. Is a hollow ground, for the evolution of a lot of that, a lot of our sport starting out in that building and excelling from then on. It was awesome. It was awesome to be in such a big building, and have so much room. I never had so much room to where I could take that truck and bounce it off a car and hit the throttle and try to get it to wheelie. And I wound up doing my first wheelies in that dome. And that was just awesome to me. I didn't care whether I win, lose, or draw. I did wheelies, and that's what I've always wanted the truck to do. But most of the events we did, I just didn't have the room, and I didn't have the timing, And then with that said, I was always working on my timing of, a slap wheelie. So it made me feel good. My sons were there, my twin boys, Just and Josh. They were there, and it felt really good to have that accomplishment under my belt finally.
Yeah, and we had one of those strong wheelies that you did that night in our hype video.
Right.
Yeah, and I know you love the wheelies. What made your truck such a wheelie machine?
That was and Charlie Camo came about. Once it came about, that camouflage, we decided. I just had like 3 months of not doing anything in the winter, no shows, and I looked at the truck and I'm like, I said to myself, I'm going to put that motor in the back. I think I'm going to put that motor in the back. And they looked at me like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah, you just cut it off here, put it back there, and and you got all this stuff in your head of how easy it's going to be, And then next thing you know, it's not so easy, But it took me really pretty much 2 months to get that thing in the back of the truck and get it in the proper alignment and make it work. And that actually helped. That helped that truck to wheelie. That helped that truck perform a lot better. It was, believe it or not, a lot easier on that truck because that truck still had coilover shocks, which were the old Custers, or I forget the new name they went to, but for a coilover to bounce and actually wheelie was impressive to me because I didn't want the shock heims. Those were little shock heims compared to the heims that are on this thing now, as compared to the shock shafts that are on this thing now. They were tiny. They were like having a toothpick on that truck, and you wondered if it put all the weight up in the air, if it was going to snap the shocks off, So, but it did really well.
And it's that time of the podcast. It's time for Explain That Photo.
Uh-oh.
Well, don't say uh-oh just yet. We're going to kick it off with our first photo. I think you were talking about this one a little bit earlier.
Oh, yeah. That's the same truck sitting right here on my shelf. So that is Charlie Camo. And if you look at those silhouettes, you'll see a Ranger scroll, you'll see Airborne wings, you'll see a Ranger dagger, and you'll see a silhouette or a flash silhouette from the beret in that. And there's I believe there's 3 colors that use it, and then there's one neutral color that doesn't. I think the brown is the neutral color, but the black and the green have those silhouettes in them. And there she is. Yep. That's Pontiac there. First wheelies. Oh yeah, that's the one. I had to drive it outside with hand controls, and you can see the front end where it says Lund, right there where that X is. That's the 4-link, reverse 4-link, I call it, system, where the 4 links came from the front of the truck to the front of the axle. And right behind me, you'll see the other yellow 4 links that are in the what would be considered the traditional position. But yeah, I ran that truck into the wall here in Reno at the stadium, and Craig Christensen had me take it up to Utah, and he helped me rebuild that, and he helped me put those four links to the traditional four link position from the center of the truck to the back of the axle. And this was Alpha. This was Alpha. Alpha was designed. We wanted an American anthem, but we also wanted the Sua Sponte colors from the flash of the beret. That beret I have on has the red, the orange, the yellow. And there's supposed to be some green in there, but for some reason I got talked out of the green. I believe Greg Jones, I believe, convinced me, not the drag boat guy, not to put green on. I guess it was bad luck then. And so I left the green out. But yeah, that was a lot of the colors of the Ranger colors there, besides an American anthem on the top. Yep, there's the ride truck, and there's those hot rod front ends, and that was done at one of my old shops, just a display deal, and to show off the two trucks. And you can see the truck the motor is still in the front, and that year right there. But shortly after that, that's when I took it and moved it to the motor's in the front, and shortly after that I took and moved it to the rear. I can't tell which arena this is at.
That's Anaheim.
Is that Anaheim?
Yes.
Yeah. That's Bravo. Bravo was one of those, since we were into the dirt track racing truck, with Mikey driving our super truck. That truck body was a super truck body, actually, and it was made up of plastic fiberglass, and I think there was some metal on it. So it was a combination of having to bolt everything together, which it worked well. But for a monster truck, I think the monster just shook it apart eventually. So that was a cool little truck body. And then you can see the suspension is different there. Motor's still up front. The front shocks are straight up and down still, whereas I tilted them back after later on. I started tilting in things inward and outward, and experimenting with different things. But yeah, that's the Bravo truck.
And we got one more for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was driving Bigfoot that day.
Oh wow.
No, he got the jump on me. I always love racing against those guys. Those guys are so good to me, man. They were always cool. Got a lot of laughs out of them guys, and just like I said, those are my heroes. That's one of my heroes right there, and I love pulling the line against them. You always have it in your heart and soul to beat them, but sometimes they bend you over and spank you a little bit and show you what's what,
Oh man. Phil, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, so we just looked at the ride truck. I know we've talked about it a little bit here. What I found so fascinating is on your old website from, gosh, maybe 20 years ago now, you wrote on their future plans, and it's to build another monster truck equipped with a wheelchair lift to give disabled individuals the opportunity to ride in a monster truck. And that's exactly what you accomplished with that ride truck, to talk to us about finally getting that ride truck off the ground.
Yeah, there was in reality, there was some great things that happened with that truck, and then of course there was some disappointments, and one that truck did it was a common dream. The dream was always of mine to do that, because I was the paraplegic and I wanted to give kids a ride in that truck, or I wanted to take it to children's hospitals and get them in there with wheelchairs, pull all them seats out and put wheelchair tie downs in it and give them a ride. Not the rides that you would, you don't want to scare them or nothing, but you want to just putter around the parking lot and let them hear the motor and then feel like what it feels. Let them feel the 66-inch tall tires, all those ribs on those tires vibrating across the parking lot, and so that was the high point. The low point was I didn't, and I blame only myself for this, but I did not keep track of that truck, and I should have kept a closer. I should have pulled the reins in a little bit on that truck, held that truck back a little bit. There was a lot of structure that I didn't demand, of that truck, or a lot of things I like I said, I let the reins go a little bit too far on that truck. I think that truck's since been sold. I don't know where it went. The rumor is it's been sold. Um, so, but like I said, there's high points and low points in it, and I'm glad that truck did succeed. Now, it succeeded in my personal values. It succeeded probably 10%. That truck can go 100, or if I build another one, it could go 100%, and I could make it go 100% and follow the dream that I wanted to follow, to put smiles on disabled kids' faces, or light up their world a little bit, or let them drive. I know there's a lot of these little kids that hang out at Monster Jams events, at least in Vegas they did, and they always ask me about driving my truck, and I said, you grow up, you start working out, get some muscles. I want you to be able to pull yourself in that truck like I used to do, and then I'll let you drive it. And there's one of them that does that, to this day. I don't know if he still works out, but he was, but at least it gives them something to shoot for. With that said, you gotta watch the disability too. There's hundreds, thousands of disabilities, and that's what I learned through my lifetime. And I may have a disability that's the same, and another guy called a paraplegic just like me, but he's not going to be the same paraplegic. It depends upon where he broke his back, what was destroyed, I'm an incomplete. They call me an incomplete para. So I broke my back across the L3, L4 area, which gave me nerve damage at L1 and L2. And but across that area is where they call it a horsetail, where the nerves fan out. They start fanning out to the body. So if you want to break your back anywhere, that's the place to break it. That it's going to give you more of a chance to regain a lot of ability back, which that's exactly what happened to me. If I didn't have the VA in Palo Alto, California, putting me on the parallel bars and making me drag my feet across the parallel bars back and forth, I wouldn't be walking to this day. And so with that said, every disability, especially when it comes to quadriplegics or paraplegics, every person's going to be different. So the ability, you really have to watch the ability, but that's where that truck would have filled in that niche. If they couldn't drive, well, at least they can ride in it, and here I was going to make up this little like a little medal, because I did a lot of the wheelchair sports, and I got a lot of medals for different things, and I wanted to make up a medal that was just specific to the monster truck, and made me like an entire shape or something. And here's your medal. You rode in it, like getting the wings, like when you were a kid. And this is probably dating myself, but United Airlines when you were a kid, used to fly United, and they'd give you a little badge with little wings on it, said United Airlines, and why not? Why not give a kid something that hopefully charges him up, and gets in his heart and soul.
Got a great comment here from good old Dallas Glenn Rogers. And Dallas says, I remember a couple years ago seeing you in Stockton with an 18 truck field getting a perfect score of 30. So what was that like?
That was awesome. It was a lot of freakish things, a lot of those magic moments that I talk about, monsters being magic. That magic moment happened for me when I went over a bus stack and it pulled itself right into a wheelie, and I walked it out of that wheelie, flat on my back in the chair, in the seat, and looking up straight up at and I knew if I had to give it any more gas, it was going to go over backwards, but I walked it out of it, tapping the brakes, throttling, just that perfect magic moment. And besides that, the track that they built there, oh my God, it was just awesome. There was a lot of room, just like a Pontiac Stadium, but outdoors. It was just awesome, and they built the track well. They built the track to entertain, and that's what happened. It was just one of those magic moments. I was in the right place at the right time, right seat at the right time, right truck at the right time.
I was reading a lot on your website here too. I saw, of course, a lot of monster truck teams they're always on a lot of different programs on TV and different news stations and networks. I thought this one was interesting because I'm an old '90s dork. You're on Nick News. Well, how'd that come about? Being on Nick News, you remember that?
Yeah, I think Nickelodeon was again one of those deals around Monster Jam. and I forget. I'll have to look that up. I have that on file on a tape somewhere. It's probably one of those VHS tapes. Date myself again, but
What's that?
yeah, yeah. Who knows what that is, huh? You got to be over 50 to know what that is. But yeah, Nick was there, and they were doing some kind of special. But it was a cool deal. It was cool for the kids to see, and again, one of those times where the popularity of the trucks was just, it was headed straight up in the air like a rocket. It was just gaining speed. I'm pretty sure even there was a comparison at one time of us compared to NASCAR that we were overshadowing them pretty well with what we were doing. Because and back then the biggest stunts were jumping the biggest mountain sideways and biggest car stack, bus stack sideways, and doing donuts and maybe side surfing here and there, but you didn't mean to side surf, and I don't know what they call it now. I call it side surfing still, but that's when the popularity of that sport was just going up and up and up because of everybody was just loving what they did, and you could see it in the teams, you could see it in the drivers, you could see it in the promoters. They were just loving what they were doing.
Talking about that, Stockton show. Juan Munoz is in the comments, one of our past guests, so make sure to rewatch that episode if you haven't already. And he says, I was the track official for that Stockton show. Don't want to sound like a super fan, but it was really cool to see you and hang out up close. It was so cool as a driver to see you drive with your controls and how you move the truck around. What a beast.
Yeah. You try to get in it and tame the beast every time, but the beast will rule you. I mean, the beast, you think you know how to drive that truck? The minute you think that, it's going to show you something new, and it's going to tell you, oh, get out of this situation, and but that's the cool things about it. I learn every time I get in that seat, no matter what. And I that was a racetrack, a horse track, but the internals also looked like it was a roundy round track of some sort for cars. So there was two other trucks after my freestyle, and I had a blown tire or something. I think I don't know if that was the same year, but I sat up. They wanted me to go to the back and fix the tire. I'm sitting right here. I'm going to watch who's next, and that was just my love. That's my love for the sport, is to watch. I just love them, and I was a fan before I was an owner. So, and it was just that was a cool track. That was an awesome track for, like I said, being at the right place in the right time.
And as we wind down here with Joe, we've learned so much and really a lot of documented, a lot of incredible stories here on this podcast that stand the test of time. You've done so many incredible things. For you, what has been your favorite moment being a monster truck driver?
It's a toss up between creating this truck and creating that ride truck too. That dream to come and have that ride truck come to we'll say a decent reality. But I guess I would have to take my truck and my hand controls as the number one thing that ever happened. Not just for me, but for the Rangers and for the people, the fans, the people that are out there that want to see magic, happen, and that's like I said, monsters are magic to me. They will always be magic. And if you watch a lot of Monster Jam shows, you'll see things that, you see that forward backflip deal that happened with, I forget the gentleman that was driving that truck, and I forget the truck's name. But anyway, it was said that was all planned, but I call that bullshit. That he wheelied across that track and he did that forward backflip because he was in the right position at the right time, and he landed it, and it turned over in the right position at the right time for him to land it. And And if he has a problem with it, then that's fine. I don't care. But I know what I saw. I was there. So I saw it, and I was just, it doesn't fill my heart with being proven one person right and I'm wrong, or he's right, or, or he's wrong. It proves my heart with showing people that look at this magic that happens, whether it was planned or not. It's magic for you, and that's where I believe Monster Jam, has gone. They've gone quite the ways, with this magic, this monster truck magic deal, which I call magic.
Definitely was an insane moment, but this is going to be one of my final questions. Um, how did you, I mean, let's put it this way. What advice would you give to someone wanting to get their foot in the door in the industry?
Seek out, if they're going to get into the industry, and if say they're going to purchase a truck, seek out all the trucks that are out there, as far as the manufacturers that are out there for everything, and try to, if you have the money, then spend the money on the best stuff, and pace yourself. You got to learn the truck. You got to, it's seat time. That would probably be the biggest thing for me, is the more you get in the seat, the more you learn. um, it's all seat time. It's all seat time. That's why they have a university, or that's why Tom's the professor. That's a reason. There's a reason for that. And that's called seat time. And that's to practice stunts without a body on it, so you can see where the truck's doing, what it's doing, why it's tilting one way, why it's not. All these different angles, and hit the angles of those ramps at a certain certain speed, certain direction. Um, but yeah, it's a matter of seat time, and doing it right. You got to watch out. You got to watch out for different things. There's going to be pitfalls along the way. There's going to be. You just got to watch out. You got to watch your back. And then, but in the meantime, concentrate putting smiles on people's faces. That's another thing. Once you learn the truck, once you get your seat time in, then you'll be able to climb the mountain.
And I'll take a spin off of that same question, and just maybe for a different audience. What advice would you have for an individual that might have a disability, or they're looking for some sort of pick me up, get them back on track? What advice would you have for any of those individuals that or might be a little lost and trying to figure out where to go next?
And that's the thing. Is number one, you have to know your disability. You have to know it for you, for the individual, inside and out. Um, there's things that are going on with me that are going, they're still, and they said, that they're getting worse for me. And I was told about this years ago, because I had good therapy, good therapists, and I had the VA behind me, which down there in Palo Alto is one of the best spinal cord injury centers, I believe, to this day. So with that said, you got to know what you can do and can't do. But don't ever give up. You if you have it in your heart and soul that you can do it, then do it. It may take you baby steps. You gotta crawl before you can walk, and you gotta walk before you can run. And I had to learn that process all over again. The walking and the crawling, and then the walking and the running, and I had to do it with wheels. I had to do it with wheelchair. But and I'm coming from the side that I can see how many disabilities there are out there, and there's so many. So, but if you believe that you can do it, if you physically believe you can do it, mentally believe you can do it, call me up, let me know. I'll be the first one to help you out. We'll see what we can do. Because and I lay that out there for help for anybody that's in a chair, or has a disability. And I think a lot of the people that are around me that have disabilities, that know me, that you come knocking on my door, Well, you better be ready for pain because I'm going to put you through the pain, blood, sweat, and tears, but you make it out of that, you're going to go somewhere.
Definitely a great message you were sending, and it was an awesome time talking about your story tonight. But this is going to be the final question of the night. When it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
The legacy is the Army men and the Hot Wheels. The legacy is the paraplegic that the man that became a Ranger that became a paraplegic that became a monster truck driver. And it's not over yet. We'll see where else it goes. It's there's untold story still. And there's a new chapter to this book. So I don't want it just to end in, I always keep my hopes up and look to the future, and keep my nose to the grind and see what else I can change,
And you're not done yet. Some people are asking, like, well, where's Joe been? He's out there. He's been driving for nearly 30 years, and you're not slowing down. I know it's a little rough patch at the time we are filming this, but, sooner rather than later, I know we're going to see you in the Airborne Ranger, the Marauder, back out in action, and it's going to be a great time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, wait for these great this COVID thing's just got to end, or we got to find a way around it, somehow. But yeah, I'm ready to go out there and entertain, and that's all I want to do is I'm an entertainer that uses a blown alcohol monster truck to entertain with, and that's all it's really is. It's one of those type of sports that it grew from. I can tell you a lot of stories of what it came from and how the evolution of it transpired, but it's a lot of good stuff too. I'm not trying to be negative about anything. I love my sport, and I think it has a long ways to go still.
That's why we love it. Joe, it's an honor. It's a pleasure. I would venture to say you are a legend in this sport. Thank you so much for being on this podcast here tonight. We hope to see you soon.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me again, and appreciate it. This is my first social media deal, and it's not so bad.
We're proud of you. You did it.
Thank you, Ranger Joe.
Yeah, I thought you were going to give
a great job.
or damn or something like that. I'm like, here we go. What do they do on social media?
you did. If you can do it, anybody can. Joe, we appreciate it.
Definitely a great job tonight.
All right, man. You guys take care.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else much to say. That's what the episode's for. It speaks for itself. Joe Cypher really proved a lot of people wrong and got into that sport and did a lot of things different than anyone else. And again, almost 30 years driving, and he's still got a lot more to prove and to show off with the Airborne Ranger.
Well put, Phil. I mean, love the message he's sending, showing that despite of his disability, he can still drive a 10,000-pound truck and compete with the best of them. So definitely a great message from Ranger Joe tonight.
And we appreciate having him on. I know had to twist his arm a little bit, but we got it done. And his story will forever live in our archives, just as a lot of the other people that were in our comment sections tonight. He's all part of history now here on the Monster Truck Outlaws of the West podcast. But if you guys go ahead. Who's doing it? Me, you. Okay.
Where can the people find these archived episodes?
Well, yes. Well, if you're here on our Facebook page, thank you for tuning in on our Facebook page. Make sure you do like and share this video one more time. Make sure everybody that maybe couldn't tune in live can come back and check out Joe's episode at any time, as well as our past guests. David Tucker was in the comments, Dallas Glenn Rogers, Gary Schott, Juan Munoz. All those guys have had episodes with us. They're in our video section, our live tab. Just go up to our Facebook page, live podcast episodes. You'll see our entire library. From Hall of Famers to rising stars. We try to cover it all here on the West Coast, and Joe Cypher's story is among the rest now. So make sure you check it out there. And also, wherever you can download podcasts, audio only, so like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Stitcher, Amazon, or Audible. That's Amazon's platform, right? Audible. Wherever you can download the sound, wherever you can download your podcast, it's there. So you can check out all of our podcasts, audio only, wherever you can download podcasts. And again, if you like tonight's episode, make sure you also like our page. We'll have another great episode for you here next week. We'll dot the I's and cross the T's. and make sure we'll have a guest here next week. So make sure you stay tuned at the beginning of the week. We'll drop a teaser and we'll announce who will be joining us next on the Monster Truck Outlaws of the West podcast.
Yep. And if you are someone that wants to be on the podcast or you have someone you want on, send us a message on our page and we'll get back to you. But we're not slowing down, as we always say. Another great week, and we're excited for next week.
Yes, we are. So until then, have a great weekend. If you're celebrating Easter, be safe, enjoy it, and we'll see you here next week.